Our outlook is not for much longer, that you're going to have to see some increase in interest rates, not a huge amount in the long end of the curve, because the long end of the curve is being supported by all these global factors. What's really going to shift is the front end of the yield curve, and the front end of the yield curve has been for a long time our concern, and that's where we think you'll see the biggest thing.
All right, America, time to step up and face the facts. When it comes to our money, the financial health of each individual and certainly the nation as well, we are often, ready for it, illiterate. In other words, we have no clue what we're talking about and thus force ourselves into debt while we opine on issues we know nothing about. And it's high past time we got in shape and realized money does indeed make the world go around. Welcome back to MidPoint, chairman of the Society to Advance Financial Education, which is what we're going to do here today, and you need to listen to this. Steve Beaman is here. Steve, always a pleasure to see you, my friend.
Well, Ed, thanks for having me on. If ever there was a time I wish 100 million Americans were tuned into your program, it would be this segment.
Well, we're just a little bit shy of that right now, so we'll continue to go ahead and try and keep that up. And remember, it's global, too, so maybe we'll help the global community as well.
Well, we need to do that.
This is what really caught our eye on this. Only 40% of adults keep a budget and track their spending. 3/4 of American families say they live paycheck to paycheck. More than 1/4 of American families have no savings at all. How did we get so bloody illiterate when it comes to the money that basically keeps us going every single day?
Well, number one, we don't teach this. We don't teach advanced money management or even basic money management in grade school, elementary, high school, college. We don't teach it. I mean, almost to the point you'd swear there was a conspiracy of people trying to keep people ignorant. The fact is, it's repulsive how bad we are on this. In fact, the OECD did a study in the last year, and they found that Chinese students were more financially literate than American students. And that's just a frightening statistic.
Well, wait a minute now. You use the word conspiracy. Got to be careful now because we're always looking for conspiracies at every corner here. But it certainly sounds, maybe not conspiratorial, but marketing-wise. You have all these companies out there. They want your credit. They want your money. They're going to tell you how easy it is to get it and how easy it is to pay it off. Why would they even want to educate you? It would seem that as far as they're concerned, and that's where the money is, educating Americans would be the dumbest thing you could do.
Well, I think we can all go back to that famous commercial that said, for everything else, there's Visa. And that pretty well sums up the marketing angle. But we also have a situation where the teachers aren't educated in financial literacy. And there are groups like the Jumpstart Coalition, give them a little plug, but they're doing some really good work educating the educators, trying to bring up the level of literacy in this country. I mean, we can talk about geopolitical problems all day in the Middle East and Russia and China. The fact of the matter is, if we don't have a strong economy, all bets are off.
Then why?
And we cannot. Yes, go ahead. I'm
no,
sorry.
then why are we here then? I mean, because what you're talking about is true. I'm looking at one of the multitude of studies that we look at here. 85% of American parents believe that financial education courses should be a requirement of high school graduation. Okay, 85%, that's a pretty big number. Why then is there nothing in the schools? Why has there been nothing there?
People find it mundane. As I've gone out through the society and talked, there are two camps. I have a camp number one that says we already know all that stuff, and they are just not willing to learn. The other camp says it's so complicated, I don't even want to try to understand it. And we've got to find that middle ground to bring those groups together and say there is information on compounding interest, on building retirement, building education funds that actually can help people prosper. They don't have to be slaves to a debt-ridden consumer lifestyle. They need to understand money and how it works.
Steve, is that just it? Is it the shiny little thing concept that I always go back to sometimes? It said, we in America, if it's shiny, we love to look at it. It catches our attention right away. Come on, the new iPhone is out today. You know how many people are getting in line to get that. They'll go and hawk for that in a minute. But simply because it's not sexy, it's not shiny, that it's all about numbers, that's the mundane thing about it. It just doesn't attract us for that reason?
No, and I'll tell you, the stuff I preach all the time can get me in trouble because I look at people who, on average in this country, if you're 40 years old or 50, you've got about $50,000 put away for retirement. That's not very much money, but those same people are going to Starbucks for their $3 drinks. They're going to Apple for the newest technology and iPhones. They're buying iTunes, you know, at $10, $20 a month, all of which can add up. And it's putting them in a position where their very retirement's at stake. And with the baby boomers now coming of age, beginning to retire, we better start to fix this now, or 20 years from now, we've got a catastrophe on our hands.
Is the biggest issue here then that credit is too easy? And I'm going to say that because I remember the first time that I walked into a convenience store and I saw somebody pay for a $1.35 soft drink with a credit card. I mean, I was incredulous when I saw that. I was always taught, go ahead and pull out a couple of bucks and get that done there. But is that really it, that the credit is simply too easy and we just don't ever see the money going by?
Well, the fact is our economy and the Western civilization economies are built on debt. So we have to have this increasing debt every year in order to grow the economy. But more than that, Ed, it's because money doesn't come with an instruction book. And people need to start looking at it and understanding where they sit within the financial markets and how they can build that life for themselves. It's not that tough. A little bit of knowledge, a little bit of discipline, and in 20 years, we'll have a prosperous nation. But we've got to start getting there today.
Okay, I'm going to let you start right now. I'm going to let you go ahead and put a shiny little thing in front of the people here right now and see if we can at least get them interested. First thing that people need to know, and the simple thing that they should do.
There is a magic bullet in finance. It's called compounding interest. It plays for you or it plays against you. But if you take $1 and you roll it up and double it every day for 30 days, you'll have well over $3 million in the bank. If you have 31 days, you'll have $6 or $8 million in the bank. That compounding interest is a fabulous, fabulous bonus that can work for people if they just give it a shot.
Then how do you find it and where do you go?
Well, it's very simple. You first start disciplining yourself to put away that magical 10%, and you save that up like there's no tomorrow. And then you use that money to begin learning how to invest in cash instruments, in stocks, in bonds, in the commodities markets, and in the derivatives market. It's not complicated. Our Master of Money program, which we start one here in Chicago again tonight, that teaches people exactly what they need to know.
But you would have to admit that when it comes to the stock market, it still is, it's hieroglyphics to so many people because it's a gamble. So you'll always get the people that will say, hold on a sec, Steve, I know you're telling me to get involved in the stock market here, but you're basically asking me to gamble with my money, and I don't know how these people do things. I don't know how they make this money here. So then where do you go?
Well, it's a funny thing. To those on the inside, it's not gambling. And what I'd like to do is share with people why it's not gambling. We can teach people what they need to know. It's not that complicated. That's why the society exists. It's why I started this to begin with. But I think overall, there are people like Dave Ramsey do good work. Susie Orman does good work. People just need to understand that if they give it a try, they'll be able to learn the secrets they need to know.
Okay, here's a couple of things that I need you to tell us if this is the right way to go. Let's try this out. There's simple things. Get your finances in order. Now, that's 5 words sitting there, but most people have no idea how to do that. How do you start? Because you'll see people who, oh, I'll put a couple bucks here, put a couple bucks there, I'll just get things started. Okay, how do you get it in order?
Well, you start by looking at your checking account, determining how much you have coming in and how much you have going out. It's pretty darn simple, but you've got to do it. Each and every month, people should devote just 10 minutes to looking through their checking statement, making sure that the deposits they put in there are understood where they came from, and making sure those withdrawals are right. The thing I strongly recommend is people start using a debit card rather than a credit card. A debit card comes right out of your checking account. If you don't have the funds, you're not buying the item. And that's a good way to begin a disciplined approach.
Fair to say, though, that part of that when it comes down to a debit card is the security issue. We've seen a lot of things happen lately, and I know there's a lot of people who don't want to use these cards at all because they're now afraid that their identities are going to be compromised. So how do you allay those fears?
Well, I would tell them first, there's certainly no more risk to a debit card than a credit card. It's the exact same technology. Secondly, they have very much the same protections with a debit card that they have with a credit card. If you get an erroneous charge to your bank account, your bank will reverse that charge. They'll give you your money back. So it's just a matter of you being smart enough to monitor your checking statement every month. You won't get hurt. It's the guy who doesn't check his statement that's going to get hurt.
What is the government doing right now? Because there's a lot of people who will say that we can't take care of our finances because this administration and this government is making it too tough for us right now to save this money and put it away. So isn't it fair to say that there's an awful lot of things governmentally and federally that really stops people from helping to get their finances in order?
I raised 6 kids, Ed, and I will tell you that I'm not big on excuses. Yeah, the government taxes and all that make it tough. Of course it does. It's a drag on the economy. It's a drag on a person's individual financial circumstance. But that doesn't negate the fact that people have to start looking ahead and building for that time in life when they can't be as productive as they are now. If we start them at 18 years old, by the time they hit 65, 70, they won't need to worry about government programs.
So what would be the end game from all this? I mean, let's say, what do you want to put away here? What do you need to do?
Well, we're actually going to begin a program next week on financial planning to show people how much they need to put away to actually live off of their own capital, how to become a capitalist, if you will. And we're going to show them how to get there. It's not as tough as people think. But if you can imagine, when people ask me, Ed, why I'm doing this, what my end game is, I want 100 million people to know what I know. And then we'll have 100 million people who don't need government programs. They don't need to rely on Social Security. They can rely on their own wits, and we can get them there.
There's the point that I knew you were going to get to eventually. That's it right there. Take yourself off the government dole here and make it worthy so that you can do it all on your own. There's the end we got to take away from this. Steve, always a pleasure here. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take a dollar bill out of my pocket. I'm going to start rolling right away as soon as the show is over. I'm going to roll that over, put 10% in there.
Scholar.
I try, sir. Steve, thanks so much for your help.
Thank you.
All right. And by the way, we have this number. I wanted to pass this on. While $54 a person is spent on financial marketing to American consumers, only $2 per person is spent to educate them on money manners. Get literate, America. Later this hour, the president's gamble on ISIS, as we learn more about how this group is targeting Americans for kidnapping and execution. That and so much more coming up right here on MidPoint.